the song which you call Mungu ni pendo, apenda watu, sikilizeni yeye. Mungu means is God. Mungu ni pendo. God is love. Mungu ni pendo, apenda watu. Mungu ni pendo, anipenda. Sababu hii namtumikia, namsifu yeye siku zote. Sikilizeni furaha yangu, Mungu ni pendo, anipenda. Akaja Yesu kunikomboa, yeye kanipa kuwa huru. Sikilizeni furaha yangu, Mungu ni pendo.
We're standing here, Shira Camp, 3,800 meters above sea level. We're freezing. It's supposed to be maybe 5 degrees, but to us coming from South Africa, it feels like it's minus several degrees, and it's going to get colder. But firstly, let me introduce myself. I'm Anton. I'm a publisher from Limpopo, 2 independent titles, and this is my good friend Zaid Kamala, who publishes a Katuris Mail, which serves Vosloorus, Tukoza, and Katlong, of course. Now, yes, why are the two of us here? Maybe a quick sort of preview.
Well, for you, the viewer at home or who's viewing this video, this journey is not about Anton and myself or our publications. This journey is something that we want to share with you because we undertook it as a challenge to both of us, which we are now saying you are part of the challenge. That's why you are seeing in this video. And the reason that we are here is that mountain, which is the top of Kilimanjaro. You can see the peak of the mountain on my right-hand side. The journey is all about challenges, facing your challenges and facing your Kilimanjaros, because we all have our little Kilimanjaros in our lives. And Anton and I decided, let's tackle this and start the new decade, which starts on the 1st of January. That's when we expect ourselves to be at the top of that mountain as part of a celebration to say we have managed to achieve this feat, and not only for ourselves, but for you as well, as the listener.
Let's go back to where we started. We started 2 days ago. Yesterday morning, a group of excited 11 people from our groups from South Africa. We started at Machami Village, or Machami Gate, and then
which is the entry point to the Kilimanjaro National Reserve.
Yes, it's one of several routes that you can follow. We thought it was an easy route, but surprise, surprise, it's not. It's been tough. Rainforest.
We found it more challenging than we thought it was going to be. The rainforest was our welcoming point when we started at Machabe. That rainforest was indeed a real rainforest because it rained for several hours, an hour or two, if I'm not mistaken, or more. And it got us all drenched up until we got to the base camp at Machame. That's where we spent the night after a sumptuous supper. And yeah.
And today we had the arduous journey from up to Shira's camp. It was only about 6 or so kilometers, but climbing up 900 meters all the way to 3,900, then dropping again. A bit of rain, but not much. We were quite lucky, and this afternoon we're standing here in front of Kilimanjaro, and it's getting cold. Tomorrow we're going up even higher, gradually working our way up to the top, which is just below 6,000 meters. So, but we'll take it day for day, and we'll keep the updates coming.
Furaha yangu Mungu ni pendo, anipenda. Akaja Yesu kunikomboa, yeye kanipa kuwa huru. Sikilizeni furaha yangu, Mungu ni pendo, anipenda. Sababu hii namtumikia, namsifu yeye siku zote. Sikilizeni furaha yangu, Mungu ni pendo, anipenda.
Mr. Kamalo, the last time we spoke was at Shira Hut. That was 3,840 meters above sea level. We were still in good spirits. We got rained on. But since then we had a tough 2 days. I think you mentioned we might have bitten off more than we could chew, but we're still positive. But take us through the route from Shira Hut.
Yeah, Anton, this was one of the toughest routes ever in this entire trip so far. The lack of oxygen at that height, 3,840 meters above sea level.
Yes, and then we went up. Remember,
Yeah, we went
so that was
further
where
up.
we started.
Yes.
If I look at it, the map, we went from Shira Hut, and then we've that was yesterday, to Lava Tower, which is 4,600 meters above sea level. You know, which is it's very high. But the reason for that?
The reason for that is part of the acclimatization, so that you can be able to acclimatize. You go high, and then you sleep low, right?
Yes, we went to Barranco Hut, which is I think 3,950 odd.
Which was
Below
even,
4,000. Then we dropped a bit.
Yes, that was a lot better as we dropped, because some of us could regain the oxygen that we lost at that high altitude.
Well, I first stopped yesterday. Yesterday was a tough day. I think probably one of the toughest days.
And one of the longest also.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we were quite tired. But today, a little bit better. But today we had the challenge of, we started off at Barranco Hut, and then we went up and sort of up to the kissing wall. Explain that experience, because it was...
Well, the kissing wall with its heavy boulders and high altitude going up was really a tough one, and the obstacles of rocks, and at one point we saw a porter losing his load on his head, which went down about
couple of hundred meters
down, and Anton and I were starting to wonder as to what happens to the content of that traveler that got damaged in there.
Maybe one should quickly fill in about the important role of the porters and the guides, because I don't think any one of us would really, we're not experienced, we would be able to make it even thus far without the porters and the guides.
Well, I take my hat off to the porters and the guides, because they are doing a wonderful job. If you see a guy with a weight almost twice his own...
Yes, I think they limit it, and because it's regulated, but it would easily be 15-20 kilograms, sort of carrying that up.
That load.
Yes, I personally think it's actually closer to about sometimes 30 kilograms. But they carry that up, and that was that Barranco wall is, climbing up that. It is steep. It is climbing. I never thought it is that steep. I thought it is walking, but today it was climbing.
Whole process.
And tonight we're sitting at Barranco Camp. We've dropped a slight bit. We're just below 4,000. We're now getting ready for the final push. Tomorrow we've got a short, they say short, but it's going to take us probably 4 hours or so to BARAFU Camp, BARAFU Hut. That's sort of also base camp. And then tomorrow night we need to get ready to summit.
I think we need to clarify also this shortness. When they say short walk, it might sound short, but when you actually walk there, you realize you've been walking for quite some time, you know. The steep inclines, the declines, the rivers that we have to cross, and the beautiful scenery, of course. We can't live that out.
But the lack of oxygen depletes your energy. So pole pole gets so important. Pole pole meaning walk slowly.
Yes, pole pole is a word that is applicable to all of us as people, that in whatever we do, we have to take it easy. And this trip that we are on at Kilimanjaro is about people taking life easy and climbing their own mountains. As the new decade comes in, we are challenging everyone to take this adventure as we have taken it. Go climb your own mountain, take it easy, pole pole, and make sure that, yes.
Tomorrow, the big
day.
Firstly, we're going to have the few hours of climbing. We do need to go up about 600 meters to BARAFU Hut. I think that is again about 4,600, and then at around about midnight,
the big day begins.
Yes, we're going to start climbing, and we want to go up all the way to just below 6,000 meters, 5,860 or something like that. So yes, it's going to be tough, but we're going to go for it.
Jambo bwana, habari gani? Nzuri sana. Wageni wakaribishwa wapi? Kilimanjaro. Hakuna matata. Tulianza Machame. Hakuna matata. Tukaja Shira. Hakuna matata. Tukaja Barranco. Hakuna matata. Na sasa tukaranga. Hakuna matata. Kesho BARAFU. Hakuna matata. Hakuna matata. Hakuna matata. Nao wageni wetu. Hakuna matata. Toka South Africa. Hakuna matata. Kwa mzee Mandela. Hakuna matata. Wanapanda kili. Hakuna matata. Wanapanda pole pole. Hakuna matata. Hakuna matata. Hakuna matata. Hakuna matata. Hakuna matata. Nae dada yetu. Hakuna matata. Ana nguvu kama simba. Hakuna matata. Nao wakina kaka. Hakuna matata. Una nguvu kama rhino. Hakuna matata. Hapo kesho kweli. Hakuna matata. Tutatua BARAFU. Hakuna matata.
Right, we're sitting at BARAFU Camp. Base camp, as I call it. It's the last stretch.
Well, this is the last stretch, but considering the travel we made from the previous camp to here, it was quite hectic as well.
It was about 600 meters that we climbed. Not so long, but it was tough. But yes, we arrived here fairly early, at I think just after 12, 1 o'clock we arrived here. Had a good lunch. And now it's all waiting for us tonight, about 11, 12 o'clock. We're going to do the last bit. So that is about 7 kilometers. We're first going to go to Stella Point.
Which is the very last point before we summit.
Yes, and then we go to Uhuru, which is literally about 300 meters, but it will probably take us more than an hour. The air up there, extremely thin. It's going to be exhausting. We're going to go straight through the night, and if all goes well, we'll reach Stella Point somewhere around about 6 or 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. How do you feel?
Well, you know, Anton, thinking about that, this particular trek we need to do now to the summit, to Stella Point, it indicated to me that a lot of people suffered too much fatigue on the way up here, because you could see some of them were extremely sick. I hope in our group we'll manage to get there without experiencing any of these setbacks. And so far, I think we've been very lucky. None of our groups has undergone any medical or condition that warrants for them to be taken back to base. But we're all prodding on and moving forward.
And you yourself, you're 71 years old and up for the challenge. But back to what we say, it's a journey, and we should not be afraid of climbing our mountains.
Of course, yeah.
But the reality, yes, tonight is the night. It was tough up to here. It took a lot from you.
It did. Anton, going back to what you said about the many climbers that have congregated to this place to come and summit the mountain, the mountain. It looked at one point like refugees moving from one country to another, with all the bags and people.
When we went up that BARAFU wall, it was like a traffic jams there.
Yes.
But then again, it was, also, I don't perceive it as something negative.
Mm-hmm.
It shows us the diversity, the dynamic of a whole world,
Yes.
willing to climb Africa's mountain, coming together here. And yes, if you get a traffic jam, at least it gives us the opportunity to rest a bit.
Exactly. Although it gives you, like I said, images of buffaloes going through the Serengeti,
And yes, I don't think that we're all mad. I
Yeah.
think we're just realistic. We're up for the challenge. But tonight is a big challenge. Tonight.
Also, we need to make mention of the fact that everyone is friendly here. People from different countries, all they do is hi, they greet you in their language and you greet them back. And Swahili has just engulfed us all, and we all Karibo, Sana and Jambo. And it's a lovely atmosphere, but it's very taxing for the body.
All for that mountain there behind us.
That's the objective. That's why we're feeling the way we feel, and we are determined to go as far as possible to reach that peak.
So, we didn't make it. We came close, but we didn't make it. It was tough.
Well, Anton, I think one other factor that contributes to that is that I personally, and I think all of us, in fact, underestimated the weather and underestimated the climbing conditions there, because when we arrived there, the steep incline was worse than what we thought. Because I think at some point we all thought we would go up maybe a few hundred meters up, and then suddenly we would be on this level and then traveling on snow towards the peak. But sadly, it wasn't like that.
I think, firstly, you need to explain. We started off at about 11 o'clock at night with little headlamps on and following this line of people all going up Mt Kilimanjaro. We started off at about 4,600 meters, aiming to go all the way up to 5,850, around about there. But the wind was howling. It was bitterly, bitterly cold.
But I think it gave us a warning prior to it hitting us so much. There was a time when we thought it would pass, but it was so violent to a point whereby it shook some of the tents that we were sleeping in. But we thought we could continue because we estimated the height of the climb and the incline, the steep incline. It was late at night when we started, and all we had for light were those little small lamps on our foreheads. But now, climbing a hill like that you've never climbed before, with a little lamp on your forehead, and suddenly there's this violent blowing wind, and the weather is becoming extremely cold. And you suddenly realize that it bites on your fingers, and you think of frostbites. And
So about halfway up,
yes,
you had to make the decision.
And we were almost there, you know. Stella Star was very close. When I inquired from the porters, they said we were almost close, but it was difficult going further than where we were.
No, I personally think you made the right decision, because you would have heard something and that it would not have been pleasant. But sometimes in life, you don't reach the top of the mountains,
Yes.
but it's about the journey. And I think in a way it's fitting, because the message right from the start was always go out, embark on a journey, and if you don't reach the top, it is not
The end of the
it's
world.
not a failure. The message is get out there, go climb the mountains, and you try your best. I mean, you were almost in tears when you had to turn back, but you try your best, you go for it, and if you don't make it,
It's not the end
we'll
of
go
the
again.
world. Yes. Well, I was waiting there, and I was feeling my fingers getting real cold, and each time I tried to use the rocks around me to balance, I couldn't feel the rocks when I touched them. And that's when I decided to wait, and luckily I saw you coming up, and I said, Anton, I can't take it anymore. And it was something very emotional, because the objective was to reach the top. And we were so close. And I didn't want to disappoint myself, neither did I want to disappoint you and the team that we were with. But that decision had to be taken. That, Anton, I am not going to be able to make it further than this.
Maybe a quick sort of reference to the team, because you mentioned that team, and I think we can't not talk about, even if it's just for that wonderful team, the guides, the porters, the cooks, you know, all of them carrying all the stuff up, putting up the tents, making these delicious meals, but more than that, always there to support.
Yes.
And to sort of say, come.
Encourage
it's-
and support us, because that's what they did mostly, Anton. They held us by the hand where they felt we were struggling to go up, and they encouraged us to hold on and follow them. But I mean, these guys are used to this. This was the first time for us going to something that's mammoth.
But also, you know, we talked about getting out there, chasing your goals, climbing your mountains, but we also had the wonderful opportunity to learn something about Tanzania, to learn about the culture, the language, but more about the heart of the people. And these are absolutely amazing people.
Well, it goes beyond just the heart, Anton. These people were very supportive, very, extremely, you know. The most interesting part is they knew the hardship that we were going to encounter. But none of them made us aware of that, because they didn't want us to be discouraged and withdraw from what we were doing. So they kept saying, no, it's just one more climb and you'll be there. Just one more climb and you'll be there. And it was getting harder. And the wind was blowing from all directions. And it was not just that small wind, it was heavy wind. There were times when you felt it could blow you off the incline and just...
After all, you know, now we're sitting here at the hotel in the early morning hours. We fly back. We've got some wonderful memories. And it's exactly that. You need to go out. You need to go climb your mountains.
No matter how high they may be, you know, it's the attempt that human beings must make to overcome whatever obstacles in their lives. And we tried our best to do that. We may not have overcome them all, but at least we tried something that makes us feel that it was worthwhile coming here and making an attempt to get to the top of Kilimanjaro.
And we've left with some wonderful memories.
Yes.
How do they say in Swahili? They say thank you and may God be with you.
In Swahili, they have a wonderful word to thank you and encourage you when you've done something. And One, they said take it easy, which is pole pole. And number two was that encouraging term that they continuously used to say that hakuna matata, just carry on. Kilimanjaro has no problems.
Asante sana.
Asante sana. Karibu. Karibu.
Dhambi zangu kuziosha, kwake Yesu nasimama. Ndiye mwamba ni salama, ndiye mwamba ni salama, ndiye mwamba ni salama. Damu yake na sadaka nategemea daima, yote chini ya kisha Mwokozi atanitosha. Kwake Yesu nasimama, ndiye mwamba ni salama, ndiye mwamba ni salama, ndiye mwamba ni salama. Nikiitwa hukumuni, rohoni nina amani, nikivikwa haki yake, sina hofu mbele zake. Kwake Yesu nasimama,